Hello, it's Mio and welcome to this Draw With Me video. So last time I drew in my sketchbook, I drew these portraits that I really liked, so I wanted to do something similar. So I start by getting out my trusty old mechanical pencil that breaks whenever I try to get more lead out of it. But as long as I hold it in place while I click on the button, it works fine, so I'm still gonna be using it. So as I just mentioned, I really enjoyed the portraits that I created on the previous page, which I also have a video on here on YouTube, where I just started with a mechanical pencil and drew a few portraits that I then later used some markers on, some alcohol-based markers, mostly pro markers and Copics, and then afterwards used some coloring pencils on top. Something that I liked about that especially was the vibrant, crazy colors, so I wanted to do something similar to that and try to keep the theme of crazy colored faces. But here I wanted to kind of turn the scale down a little bit because they were kind of big on the previous page, so I wanted to make 3 portraits this time, and they're gonna be a lot smaller and maybe with some more soft colors, because last time I went really strong with this very strong purple and this very strong red and orange. So all summarized, the plan was colorful, pastel, tiny portraits that had faces from different angles. So I decided on one that is kind of looking from the side, which I'm drawing on screen right now. And I wanted her to look a little bit sassy, or like not like she's mad or anything, but she's like kind of smiling like and looking at you. Kind of like she's plotting something. When I was drawing these drawings, I also did not have a very strong opinion or a strong idea of how the faces were supposed to look. Only really the angle of the faces. So I wanted to have like one from the side, which you just saw, or like half on the side, and then one that is kind of looking up at you, so the face is turned a little bit down, which is the one that I'm drawing on screen right now, and then the last one, which you're gonna see later, where it's a side profile. And the reason why I had the faces all looking in different directions is that I wanted some variation in there, but I didn't really feel like drawing hands or any other added elements or flowers or anything like that. Although now looking back at it, I think this drawing or these drawings would have really benefited from some flowers or a hand or something to add a little bit of variation to it. But I wanted to kind of make the variation the colors, if that makes sense. I wanted to experiment with colors and therefore focus on something that I draw a lot, which is portraits. Here I just finished the side profile girl, and she got a little side eye, and then I decided on drawing the hair. So the first girl is gonna get a very simple down the middle hair part that has a little swoop at the ends, and then I wanted to give her some funky little hair clips that are kind of a little modern. And then the second girl is gonna be looking at you. All these girls are gonna be kind of looking at you. And she got some space buns, and then I wanted to give her some cute bangs, which you can see me add in here. And I also want to give her a little bit of hair in the front as well that go in front of the ears, because I thought it would look kind of cute. For the last girl, I actually struggled quite a bit, but you can't see it because I cut that out of the video because it would be a very long video if you could see all of my fails. But I decided in the end on just giving her a very simple ponytail. You can see here I've just erased something. That's because I tried some braids, but I didn't like the braids didn't work, and I also tried some other few things like a short ponytail and such, but nothing seemed to work except for this long, thin ponytail. Here to represent the girls that have thin hair. And then I decide on starting with some coloring pencils, because that's what I did last time that I was drawing, which was the first time that I used coloring pencils with markers. So then I added some black to start with, and then I added colors afterwards. And that worked when I was working with a bigger scale or a bigger portrait. But for some reason, I feel like it smudged a little bit when going over it right here. You can't really see it all that much, but you can see it right there with the eye, that it's smudged on top. Oh, and here I'm adding a paper underneath because I forgot about that. But yeah, I tried to be a lot more mindful in the other portraits where I place my marker so that I don't smudge the coloring pencil. I think in the other portraits actually that I just skip the coloring pencil altogether and do that later on in the process. And then I found this other pro marker that had kind of the same shade, but I wanted to use that to add a little bit more depth to the face before adding this more neon, stronger pink color that I also used as mostly blush, but also a little bit of shading for under the eyebrows, and a little bit of a lip tint. These are pretty much all just experimental portraits. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of placing the color where it feels right and where I would put this color when doing digital art, but I've really lost all my skill when it comes to Copics and markers in general, because I haven't really used them for so many years. But I have this huge collection of these markers and so many sketchbooks that I really want to fill, so I'm gonna try to draw more in them. Oh, and I also used some purple for a little bit more extra shading, because I feel like it adds a very nice contrast between the coldness of the purple and the warmth of the pink. It just looks really nice and is a really nice color to shade with in general. Actually, I use it for a lot of my drawings. At this point of the process, I felt like I had done pretty much all that I could do with markers if I didn't want to overdo it, which I didn't want to do. So I switched over to the coloring pencils. So I started by giving the girl some eyelashes before I went over to all of the other pinkish colors that I had and tried to kind of deepen the colors that I already had. So I made her under eyes a little bit darker, and then I added another type of purple that is a lot stronger than the marker that I had, and pretty much just added details everywhere where it would be hard to put markers. So where I wanted soft gradient or soft fade from one to another color, I would use them. And yeah, just to kind of put in all these tiny little details that I can't use with a broad marker. I felt like the nose needed a little bit more definition, so I took my lightest pink and kind of shaded it a little bit so that the bottom of the nose would look a little bit white, so that it's kind of a reflected light reflecting from beneath her or something like that. And then it was time for the hair, and I really enjoyed the messy look of the hair the last time that I drew with coloring pencils and markers, where I just went ham with it and didn't try to really make it look like hair. I really enjoyed that look, so I decided to just continue with that. So I used my coloring pencil very roughly to add hair and with these very strong lines. And I also made sure to keep a little bit of space white for the highlight of the hair. And then I went in with some other colors as well to kind of add a little bit of extra shading both on the face and also for the highlights of the hair. And then I did the same with the little buns in her hair, which I think turned out really good. Tried to add some movement to it and lines in different directions, so it really looked like the hair was tied up. Then it's time for the eyes, and I wanted her to have blue eyes. It was really a spontaneous decision there. I wasn't really sure what to do, and since I used a lot of blues already, I decided to just continue with that. So lighter blue on the bottom and then darker purpley blue on top to match her hair. Here I'm just adding the last and final details before moving on to the next drawing. I decided on drawing the side profile girl next, and first I tried this lighter type of green, but I felt like it was a little bit too light because my problem with the pink girl was that I couldn't add any highlights. I could only really add shades because the color was already too light. So to avoid that, I decided to go with a little bit of a darker tone so that I could hopefully maybe add some light in there as well. So I started with this nice light but not too light green base. Then I had this very nice turquoise color that I really enjoy and have never really used because it's a very strong color and I tend to not really use strong colors all that often. or didn't when I used to actually draw with markers, which I haven't done for a while. And I really enjoyed this turquoise with this green. I think it looks really good and it pops really well. It is a little bit too strong though, so I did add the other color over it again to kind of neutralize it a little bit. And then I decided to just go right over to coloring pencils. The reason mostly being that I didn't really have that many greens that matched this color, and I didn't want to overdo it because I was gonna be using coloring pencils mostly anyways. The pink girl had very minimal black because I decided to just go with mostly dark purple for her hair and eyebrows. So I wanted to kind of bring that black back and put it on the green portrait because I kind of missed the strong contrast between black and the other more colorful colors. Here I'm adding yellow and white highlights, or yellow and then trying to add white highlights, but it didn't really work all that well. I don't know if I'm using the wrong white color or what it is. It worked a lot better, I feel like, in the other portraits that I made, but this one, yeah, it didn't really work all that well, but it was fine. I like the yellow more anyway. And as I said, I really wanted to do black more in this portrait, so I decided to go with black for the hair. And it's the same concept as the pink portrait. I tried to add some highlights here and there and tried to go in the direction that the hair would go in, but otherwise I don't make it too pretty. I don't try to focus on the details. I kind of just go ham and then hope that it turns out good. And in this case, I think it turned out pretty good. I think it turned out better than the pink one actually, mostly just because I really like that black with the green. I think it is a really good color combination. The last detail for the green girl is of course the eye, and she got a blue eye to match some of the blue shadows. And then it is time for the last girl. I tried 2 different markers, one lighter and one darker, and I decided to go with the darker one because I like the darker tones of the green more than the very light pink. So I thought that it would be the same here, that the darker color would just work a little bit better because then I could add a little bit of highlights as well. After coloring in the last portrait, I decided to put on the blush right away, which was with a marker, and it is the same pink color that I used as the base for the pink girl. So I decided on this color because it turns into a very light purple and it's just the most natural blush color that I could do with a blue skin. Then I also used the same purple that I used for the pink girl as her shadows. So they actually have the same shade color, but of course the tone underneath is a little different, so it's not going to be exactly the same. Then here I am doing the line art. I decided on a little bit of a stronger line art and more clean line art than what I did with the previous 2. And I actually really enjoyed the contrast here. I should have done this with the other ones as well. Had a little bit more black on the pink one and a little bit more of a cleaner, stronger black on the green girl. Then I went with more shade colors with some different coloring pencils. I went with the dark purple, which is also the same as the hair color of the pink girl. And then I also just pretty much use all the same colors that I used with the pink on this blue girl to deepen the shadows, deepen the blushes, deepen everything. Added a little bit more black because again I was really enjoying the contrast between the black and the lighter colors. There's not really much else to say about this last portrait because it is pretty much just the same as the other ones in form of technique and the color scheme. Here I'm just coloring in the last bit of hair before I then realized that my gel pen is dead. So instead of using my trusty dead gel pen, it is time to improvise. So I found some acrylic paint and I decided to just go with that for all of the tiny little highlights. So I added the highlights in the eyes of all the girls, and then I always enjoy a little bit of a highlight next to the nose and often a little dot on the tip and a little bit of a reflected light both in the inner corners of the eyes and then a little bit underneath the nose. So I do that with pretty much all the girls. Sometimes also a little bit on the side of the lips, just as a little bit of a cleanup. And I also put it on this little hair clip. So here I'm just adding the last little highlights, and then here's a little close-up of me signing my little signature, my little name, and that is pretty much it for these 3 little portraits. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, you can check out my other video of these marker drawings that I did. I'll put them on the screen right here. If not, that's okay, and I'll see you again next week. Goodbye!